All right. Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would love to give all the praises, all the honor, and all the glory unto the unstoppable and undeniable force, Yahawah, Ba'ashem, YAHAWASHI, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and unto the elders of Great Millstone, GMS for time of this truth. Honors to the brethren in the Akim that's been pushing out this truth with all sincerity and in faith. And to Wadi Yahawah, Ba'ashem, YAHAWASHI for allowing me to come back with another lesson. And Lord willing, this lesson is edifying, exhorting, and comforting, and straight to the point. And this lesson is going to be concerning on, let us walk in the Spirit. I believe that's what I'll title that. And that's coming from the New Testament in the book of Galatians, chapter 5, verse 25, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll start there through the Spirit. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 5, and verse 25. And it says, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. And that's right. And in this truth we have to learn, even though us being in this flesh, even though us being in these bodies and these vile bodies we're in, we have to maintain and keep the mindset of knowing that if we're going to live in the Spirit, we have to walk in the Spirit and to be spiritual, to stay spiritual. And there are times where you get carnal and stuff like that, but you learn to recognize it, and then to learn to shut it down, so to speak, learn to control it, and then to abide in the Spirit. And the best way that you can abide in the Spirit is keeping your mindset in the things that are above, not the things that are here on earth. The things that are eternal, that are everlasting, and having your mind in these pages. Your mind focused and occupied on the gospel and doing the will of Yahawah. That's you walking in the Spirit. That's you living in the Spirit. And this is what the Most High, our power, Yahawah, He requires of us. To be in that Spirit, to walk in the Spirit, and not in the flesh. Matter of fact, verse of the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 1, and it says, there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Hamashiach Yahawashi, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. You see that? So we have to walk after the Spirit. Okay? For the law is spiritual. For the law of the Spirit of life in the Hamashiach Yahawashi hath made me free from the law of sin and from death. You see? For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, the Heavenly Father sending His own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh. And it says that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the Spirit, but after, Satan. It says, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. You see that? And that's what it's about. Walking in the Spirit. Being quickened by the Spirit. Because when you go to the book of, was that St. John 6 and 64? And 64. 63. And it says, it is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. And that's right. And that's why we don't want to, and that's what we see with these people of the world. All the people, our people, the heathen, Esau, Edom. We see that the majority of the world, the people that live in this world, they go off of the flesh. They run off of fumes, because that's all you're doing when you're running in the flesh. When you're going off of the flesh, you're just running off fumes, and we see that from time to time. Like when, and not so much now, but scoffers back in the day, and brothers who have been in this truth for much time, they could agree with what I'm about to say, is that there was a lot more scoffers, and people would come up, find out where brothers are, where the camp is, and come up, talk shit, and all this and that. Now they'll be there for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, however, but they always end up gassing out. They always end up, pretty much walking in defeat. because the reason why is because they're going off of the flesh. The flesh profiteth nothing. It's the spirit that quickeneth. That's why we're able to beat those battles whenever they come. You people, you ain't gonna beat us in the spirit. You can't beat us because we're going off of the spirit. And it says, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. You see that? So these words is where the spirit is. This is where life lies, in these words. In the words of our power, in the words of YAHAWASHI. And that's who our power looks for. Those that worship him in the spirit and in truth. Which that's St. John 3 and 60, or no, St. John 4 and 24. Yep. Let me start from the 20th verse, and it says, Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Yahawashi saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh. Is it the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father? Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. And that's right, because Heavenly Father, he's just for Israel and Israel only. Okay? And it says, But the hour cometh and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father. And we're coming to the time where we're going to see who truly is the true worshipers of Yahweh Shema Shai. We're coming to the time where, like when Yahweh Shai told Peter, that Satan desires to sift you like wheat. And there's going to be shifting in this truth. There's going, the Most High, he's going to clean the house out, so to speak. He's going to get rid of those unbelievers, the fake worshipers, and then he's going to keep the true worshipers. And it says, But the hour cometh and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. The Heavenly Father is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. You see that? And that's what it's about. Being in the spirit. If we live in the spirit, let us also walk in that spirit. And walking in the spirit, that's what's going to keep us stable-minded. It's going to sustain us, This is Galatians 5 verse 16. And it says, This I say then, walk in the spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. And you see, and that's one way you counter the flesh, is you walk in the spirit. What you going lusting after the flesh, you abusing things, even though there may be lawful, not all things are expedient. You're not maintaining a balance. That's when the flesh starts to take over. You start doing things, and then it'll you trying to play with your woman too much, you working too much, you being indulged into whatever it may be, whether it be watching this movie or TV, or working out. Now we always, for me, I try to do at least 1 hour a day, 5 times a week, working out. But I think I'm gonna go a little bit further and just go every day, but nothing wrong with working out, but like you have some people who, like these bodybuilders, they'll go all hardcore. Those dudes are in the flesh. Now we do it just to maintain a healthy body, and because we only have this one body as of right now, and we want to take care of it the best way we can, because these bodies aren't us or aren't ours. The Heavenly Father gave it to us. That's why it says, to not defile thy temple. Or you might be playing video games, whatever it may be. You want to, if you see that you're indulging in it or you're doing it too much, just abstain from a little while. You might be drinking too much. Take a break. Whatever the case may be. Which is nothing wrong with having a drink, but you don't want to get yourself carried away with it. And how do you counter those things? By walking in the spirit. You reading, You doing lessons every day. You watching, you reading, you praying. You going out to the highways and to the hedges and the cheap place of concourse. Being examples unto the flock. It says, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary, meaning they don't go well with one another. All right. It says, and these are contrary one to another, so that ye cannot do the things that you would. You see? It's Galatians 6 and 7. It says, be not deceived, the heavenly Father is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. And that's right, you get what you give. All right. And it says, for he that soweth to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the spirit shall of the spirit reap life everlasting. See, and this is what we want to receive, that life everlasting. Okay, that's what we want to receive. That life, that everlasting life. Those crowns, those palms, those glorious garments. St. John chapter 4, verse 1 John 4 and 13, and it says, for hereby know that we dwell in him and he in us, because he has given us of his spirit. And that's right, and the Heavenly Father has given us, every single one of us brothers, a portion of his spirit, and that's what we use. We use those gifts in which our power YAHAWASHI has given us, so that we could continue to quicken in the spirit, to walk in the spirit, to worship him in spirit, and to worship him in truth, so that we can reap the life everlasting. It's all about being spiritual. There's a time where you do get carnal, but you catch yourself, you check yourself, and you just learn to have a balance, because a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. And that's what we want to maintain, that just weight. Okay, so this has been Let Us Walk in the Spirit. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here through the Spirit. I pray and hope that this lesson was edifying, exhorting, and comforting. As always, I want to give all the praises, honor, and the glory unto Yahawah, Bahashim, Yahawashai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and then to the elders of Great Millstone, GMS, who taught me this truth. Honors to the brethren in the Akim that's been pushing out this truth with all sincerity and in faith. And to Wadi Yahawah, Bashim Yahawashai, for allowing me to come back with another lesson. And it's on to the next one, brothers. Shalom.